Have you always known you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
No, I not at all. I thought I was gonna go. I don't know. I thought I was gonna get. Well, I mean, really, if you go out, I mean, I can just tell you the moment it switched, where it switched. Now, when I look back,
Yeah.
so it wasn't until, so as you know, I went to college and then I ended up in the nursing program. I finished with my bachelor's,
Mm-hmm.
but it was definitely going into my junior year, I believe that. No, it was probably near the end of my junior year because junior year was so hard that if I had already
Mm-hmm.
thought about this, like about doing other stuff, I probably would have failed. True story, true story. Um,
So end of junior year, you did that.
yeah, you know what it was is I started listening to audio programs like Psychology of Winning by Dennis Whaley and Lead the Field by Earl Nightingale. You know, you could just take this recording and then upload it to like transcript and get the whole outline of everything I'm saying, but that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, but I feel like you have to pay for some of those.
Well, I'm already paying for it. I'll send it to you. Don't worry about it. So,
Okay.
but here's the funny thing. Vividly, I remember, I think it was Earl Nightingale or someone, something like that saying, you live in the greatest country in the world. You can go do and be whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And that message really resonated with me because
Yeah.
I had never been like, as you know, and but for whatever, anyone, people watching this or listening to it, I had never been, growing up in a blue collar family on the South Side. The whole goal was to graduate school, go into the union, pick a secure, safe path, get a pension, get good insurance, have something stable. That was like what we grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be considered like a societal belief, but an organizational belief system that like our family held. And so when I heard this other stuff, I was like, oh wow, this really grabbed me, and
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get enough of it. I wanted to go down that road, and really be and do whatever I can be. So
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I
now,
didn't really know that.
when I first started getting into Think and Grow Rich and some of those books, originally a lot of my goals were like, how do I excel in the volleyball community, or how do I become a nurse practitioner. So when I first started hearing that stuff, I was kind of like thinking that way, and then it started just moving and moving, like when I would write income goals and stuff like that. That's when I started being like, oh, it'd be I want to go and not have a cap on my earning potential.
Mm-hmm.
So
I like it. I like it.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Next question.
All right.
What traits do you believe it takes to be an entrepreneur?
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, it's a great question. So, I mean, I think probably one of the most important traits would be your ability to be curious and your curiosity around solving problems,
Mm-hmm.
and then having the belief and resourcefulness that you can either do it or find the right people, find the right mentors, whatever it might be in order to do it. And then because the risk part, I think a lot of entrepreneurs early in their career don't have a lot of risk because they don't have a lot. It's actually an
Mm-hmm.
interesting thought. There's way more risk as you get older as an entrepreneur. That's why they tell you if you're going to your 20s and 30s, swing for the fences as much as you can, get in the environments where you can do that, because as you get
Mm-hmm.
older, like you just have way more responsibilities. So yeah, I would say without question, you got to have be someone who solves problems and is super curious. And then I think the third element, and it's kind of like, I don't know, it might be more of an octagon question because I don't think
Mm-hmm.
one, it depending on the situation. I think they say, like a lot of people with learning disabilities are really, really good at being entrepreneurs. Like a lot of dyslexic,
Mm-hmm.
right? Keegan's a dyslexic, but so is so many, like Richard Branson, so many famous people. And I think it's because you want to be like, okay, well, here's the status quo, but what's the opposite of that?
Mm-hmm.
what if what's the opposite, right? And I think that's where in my book, Time Collapsing, I talk a lot about the phrase, if you listen to a lot of disruptive entrepreneurs, they use the phrase a lot. Wouldn't it be great if? Like the guys for Airbnb, like the story was, I think they had an apartment or something, or no, they were renting.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can't remember if it was I forget what it was. Were they kicked out of a hotel or was it was something where they were like, wouldn't it be great if you were able just to when you travel to a city, be able to rent an apartment, like a lived-in apartment rather than being in a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that was it. I
Right.
can't remember off the top of my head. The Uber guys were like, well, wouldn't it be great if instead of getting a cab that sucks and it smells and blah 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 blah, wouldn't it be great if you actually had a good driver pick you up and you know and then if you look like Elon Musk, like
Mm-hmm.
if you read his biography, they had a lot of those kind of questions with PayPal, but then even like with Tesla, like a lot of those questions, wouldn't it be great if you had a self-driving car? And it's not self-driving yet, like in the masses, but he even says like
Right.
within the next 5 years, half of the cars are going to be driven by robots, like in the country. I mean, how do you have that foresight? So having that ability to go into the future, kind of see what you think it should look like, and then look back on now and then and create it. I mean, these are all things right that I think one of the other things, Grace, that I'm not great at. If I was going to say it's one thing I probably would learn more about if I was younger, would be how to leverage and utilize capital. But then again, sales is more important than that. So like the thing is I'm not boring you, but as an entrepreneur, you need to know how to sell.
But
You need to know how to
mm,
sell. Like you got to learn how to sell and got to learn how to communicate because you're either selling customers, or you're selling investors, or you're selling people to jump on your team. And there's a lot of sales. One thing I think would be a skill set that like if I had to go back when I was younger, or even on some of my own ventures, I probably would have learned more about leveraging capital to yeah, that's probably one thing. But that's kind of a more of a higher level thing. Yeah. What else you got, baby?
all right, let's see. Hmm. I
Turn
have a
this
few
into a
questions,
master
but I'm
class.
trying to pick the best ones.
You're okay.
What
You got
was
time.
what was your biggest challenge when starting your business?
Oh, I mean, just clarity of what I was doing. Without
Mm-hmm.
question. Without question. The loneliness, like clarity of not knowing what I was doing, which is actually why having, if I was going to suggest anything. That's why I'm always like with you guys, okay, who's already doing it, who's successful at it, and then how did
Mm-hmm.
it feel? And then if you were going to replicate that and then go try and replicate it with
Yeah.
with your own spice. Because what was different when I was, but even like right now, I mean, there's different challenges with clarity because we launched, we're making a pivot on one of the businesses. And if you don't have clarity on the sales mechanism and where the
Yeah.
money's coming in, and how to scale that that's stressful. The other thing that I think's what's kind of cool with what you have is like you're in an entrepreneurial college. i
Yeah.
I would say that no one understood what I was trying to accomplish in my ecosystem, like my family, whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
so I felt very not like I felt very alone and very like in my own. I That was really tough. And because the internet didn't exist, the
Right.
like it barely existed. There was no Facebook. There was no social connections where we could go find our tribe, even though we're virtual. The the other thing I think though, so wait, what was the question again?
It
What was it?
was what was your biggest challenge when starting your business?
Yeah, I think that's it. And I think really the most where to focus. I think that was when I discovered, okay, I can focus on marketing and copywriting and sales, copywriting, and that was going to be the gateway of starting to sell and make sales like online. That
Mm-hmm.
gave me focus and clarity, which was encouraging. Yeah.
That's good. What was the biggest risk you took, and what was your biggest motivation to starting your own business?
Well, I mean, okay, so let me start with my biggest motivation starting since we're still on the starting part. I think it was just the idea of like having having like the freedom to do what I wanted to do, not
Mm-hmm.
having somebody dictate my whole life. And if you only have one shot at this thing that we're aware of, And it's okay. And I'm betting on myself. Okay. So I guess that's probably the biggest risk at the same time is being like,
Betting on yourself?
yeah, oh heck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because every no one, I mean, less than, I don't know what the percentage of entrepreneurs are. I'm sure it's much higher now than back then, but yeah, most people don't conceptually bet on themselves. Most people are looking for
Mm-hmm.
safety, security, and jobs. And I don't have judgment on that. It's just that's what they're doing, right? And so, yeah, it's hard, man. You go out there and you're like, I'm gonna go figure this out, and then when stuff changes, you gotta go figure it out, and then when stuff changes, you gotta figure out, and as you grow a business, there's different growing pains that comes with all those things. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But I think my biggest risk was probably when I left the mental toughness like ebook and when I was doing like mental toughness ebooks and stuff like that. And I realized I wasn't going to be able to make the money that I wanted to make by being in that industry. And then
Mm-hmm.
I left and went in, I licensed the rights to sell someone else's product. And I went into the dental profession as a marketing coach and as a marketing coach at the age of 26, 27. And I mean, you're only 5 years older than that. And so I was the youngest guy in that environment. And I was teaching them how to
Mm-hmm.
like get patients. And I vividly remember somebody that I was dating was like, what do you thought it was the dumbest thing she's ever heard of? Dumbest thing ever. Yeah. And obviously I didn't marry
Well,
that
look where
woman.
you are now.
I
Wasn't
know.
that dumb, was it?
Well, you know.
That's pretty interesting. I didn't know. Didn't know that.
Well,
Um,
if you think about it, that's why I was known as like the motivational speaker guy because all I did was
mm-hmm.
motivational speaking. And then my first business was motivational speaking. And that was like a really hard business because who wants to hear a 23-year-old, guy come?
Right.
I was good in front of athletes. I was really good in front of kids. I was good in front of some adult audiences, but I was younger than them by so much. And it's not like I was a professional athlete. So it was kind of one of those, very hard. No one was actively seeking what I had. And
Mm-hmm.
and that's actually another lesson in entrepreneurship. But like who's already buying it? Is there a demand? Are people like, is there an over demand where like you can fit into the stream of customers going by and they're going to buy versus one of the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make is they can get stuck in like invention land. Like, oh, this has never been
Mm-hmm.
created. No one's ever done it. But the problem with that is, first of all, someone's probably tried it
Yeah.
and it's probably failed. And if there's no
Mm-hmm.
model of some level stuff, it's going to be very, very difficult. Now,
Yeah.
and that's why if you look at innovators, Netflix, like disrupted Blockbuster. Do you know who Blockbuster was?
I learned about it. I
Okay,
learned
well
about a bit.
they were like VHS recordings. So if we wanted a movie, you'd go drive to
Mm-hmm.
Blockbuster or get a big video
Yeah.
big. And then Netflix came out where you didn't have to drive there. You just went to the Red Box
Yeah.
next to Walgreens. And
Right.
now digital. So those are all innovations, but the whole concept of people being entertained through a medium and a channel is not a new thing. I could tell
Mm-hmm.
you this, like Richard Branson's whole billionaire model is what is a huge market that everybody's going to be in, but we can charge more and create a 10 or 20% better experience. And that's where he created like Virgin Airlines, and a lot of his brands are known to be more luxury, and he just
Mm-hmm.
charges more. So yeah.
Mm. What? What are you
Your
laughing?
mother, your mother sent me Billy, yeah, Billy, our little guy. Spelled a
Oh.
swear word on the five board. So everyone knows
Oh
he's
gosh.
like he's young, so he's an accident. Maybe what else you got?
How did you first market your business? How do you
Well,
market now?
Yeah, so I'm gonna pick the dental business as an example just because I think it's a little more relevant. So I think
Hmm.
the way back then you never start marketing a business till you do research, you find comparables, you see if you can do it better or whatever, and you replicate that pathway, right? And you test it very small, you expand. In the dental side of it, the first thing I did was run a trade magazine ad. And that was, 1,800 bucks, put it in a magazine, had to wait 30 days for it. Took forever.
Hmm.
And then we got leads, and then I would send out a sales letter, and then I would get sales start coming in 4 to 7 days after that. After the mail hit, a certain percentage will buy. The best marketing mechanism or medium had always, like, for even that business, my supplement business, if you could ever email through, like, a paid email newsletter or a paid subscription, where there's buyers there and you can rent a sponsored email. That was my most successful in dentistry. And then even when we were in the supplement business, that was also, we made a ton of sales through email, like other people endorsed.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So when you did it through it was the newspaper, you said?
Well, the,
Like you
the
bought like a slot or something?
initially we just bought like a trade magazine ad. It's like a quarter page ad,
Okay.
and I made it look like an article, and we offered a
Hmm.
free report.
And then you would email that? Or how would
Nowadays,
you do that?
nowadays you would. Back then,
Hmm.
we'd send out an actual envelope. I was like, this
Oh, so like you'd mail it.
mailed it with an audio tape, which I don't even know if you know what those are.
I know what an audio tape is. That's so
Yeah.
interesting. How has your definition of success changed over time?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I think there's a couple things. Like, I mean, I have 7 kids. You're my oldest, right? So, without question, especially after Keegan had been sick for 3 years, healthy kids, our love of Christ, and making sure that is a staple. Jehovah Nissi, the Lord is my banner, right? That's the rock that which we stand, right?
Hmm.
And so healthy kids, we as a family unit are together and cohesive. And so I think it's like John 10, no can fight amongst themselves. What's that called? It's the verse I'm on. But I'm trying to think of the Bible verse, and I'm forgetting it. So I think that's very important. And then, I mean, I think without a question, like in our household, especially, like seeing my kids take risk. And when you're younger, we see a lot of that more like in sports. And Irish just had her like play and like that created a lot
Hmm.
of fulfillment for your mother and I. And so that's super very important. And then, like now I'm almost 50, so my thoughts are like, are what things, like you guys now getting at the age with TikTok being available, like how do you guys build a financial, like my concern for you, for anyone under, like, nowadays, is just, if you don't know, if you're not using AI, if you're not leveraging AI, you you I'm a strong component that I'm a strong believer, proponent, that if you rely so heavily on other people for your financial survival and thrive and ability to thrive, there's a lot of uncertainty in the future for people that aren't learning AI. Like I've spoken to you, like I'm proud of you that you're learning how to create review videos and utilizing Amazon, TikTok, and doing those things. Because I look at that as like you're learning and training. And I really strongly believe that if you decided, look, I'm going to double down on this, 5x down on this, I'm going to be that successful, 20-year-old, 21-year-old who's making more money than my college professors because
Hmm.
I'm doing this. And I think it's totally possible. I think so. I have some other opinions on that, which you can ask me about in a second. Let me finish the thing. So I think success from that perspective is important. I think financial success is very important. And so, especially as a, leader of the family, or if it's not going well, it's very, very difficult, and you gotta grind through it. And that's where you see
Mm-hmm.
a lot of pressure, like on entrepreneurs, especially as they get older. I want to touch on one thing since we are recording this, and I will post it. I think oh, maybe you should ask me one question before you drop off. What's the most difficult thing about being an entrepreneur before we drop off?
Mm.
But did you
You
have
want
any
me to ask that now?
questions? No, no, I want because we were going to finish the TikTok conversation about making money.
Oh yeah, but so you're saying that that is your definition of success right now. Say like 20
Oh,
years
how
ago,
how it
what
was
was
different?
your
Yeah, I mean, when you're younger, like my younger self, you're always, I think every like person around my age would cringe a little bit when they look at younger. I mean, when I was in my 20s and even 30s, and like trying to make money, be
Mhm.
independent, accumulate things. And we got 5 minutes, by the way, because I got the other call I got to take.
Yeah, all good.
But that's how that feeds the ego, and it feeds, okay, look at me, I can do all those things. The amount of, and I guess since we're recording this, I'll share this because, the amount of money I've wasted doing things that appear well on the outside, like we had a couple Porsches, um, like, you know. I'm happy driving my
Mhm.
car with my kids right now. As long as we're safe and everyone's good. See how that's changed? That's a big difference.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
and then your mom and I spend such a large amount of time. Like it's almost like you, as a parent, you work three shifts. You work like the morning shift to get the kids off to school. Then I have the work
Mhm.
day, and then maybe we're coaching or doing whatever, and then you have the evening shift. So it's four shifts. But really, it's like where a lot of people don't when I was like didn't have kids or whatever, it would be more about okay, like I was always pretty focused on the business and going, but I was a lot of struggles with it. And so the way I would decompress and do things is I would play in the volleyball league, maybe go work out, maybe grab a movie twice a week by myself. It was great. It was
Yeah.
awesome. I mean, what I would do to be able to I'd go to four movies back to back to back. Mom would be like, "Where are
I know
you?"
you.
Like, I'm at ACM or whatever it's called nowadays. It's kind of like, where'd Dad go? Oh, he's at a movie. He's been for 8 hours. I know. I gave him permission. Now he hasn't come back.
Yeah. Okay, you want me to ask that difficult question really
Well,
quick
no,
and then
I
yeah,
think let's
go?
finish the one thing. I just think that it's super, super important. Like you guys are at a phase now where literally you have the same access to opportunity that
Mhm.
you guys might not even know who Tony Robbins is, or some of these famous like TV people like Cindy Crawford.
Yeah.
Like maybe you don't have the ability to like make the same. I'd actually argue you possibly do. Like you, Grace O'Keefe, have the same ability to go like her skin cream or whatever the heck she was selling.
Mhm.
You have the ability to go to a manufacturer that I could introduce you to who's got a product that is good enough to pass as something people would like. And
Mhm.
and because of TikTok, you could literally just start selling it tomorrow and nobody can tell you no.
Right.
Think about that. That's freaking mind-boggling that you guys have that. And so when I talk about that,
Mhm.
it's okay, so you're going to go get a job from somebody who doesn't know as much as what I'm telling you right now. And there's 20-year-olds right now teaching on YouTube for free, giving away their secrets and
Right.
and you could or spend $50 a month for some of these memberships, and you could be learning what these guys are doing to make 5,000, 10,000, 100,000 a month. I mean, a couple of these guys are making way more than that. And so if I had unlimited time and I didn't have all these responsibilities, I probably would drop everything I was doing and just focus
Mhm.
on understanding how to create videos that can sell product, and YouTube videos that can educate and sell product and build my audience. If you want to write a book about something, write a book about something. You could write a
Right.
50-page book, 20-page book, put it up on Amazon, and you're an author. If I could go back,
I love it.
if I can go back 10 or 12 years, I would already have written 20, 30 books. Just come out with a new book
Really.
every
Yeah.
quarter. Yeah, I had a friend of mine tell me it's a horrible idea, and now I'm like, that was the dumbest. Why'd I listen to him? Because
Yeah.
I don't need bestsellers. I just want to capture, if I want to teach something, that I feel have a unique perspective on, I'm not going to be as excited maybe teaching that concept in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So
But
why
right
not
now,
just
at that moment, you do.
yeah, right now I want to teach it. Like look at how
Mm-hmm.
to go from anxiety to confidence, like how I teach athletes how to do that. You know how many I could have helped thousands of people. I've had two people in the last like 2 weeks ask me for help, and I've helped some people with it. And it's such a simple process.
Right.
And I could have recorded it, put it in a book, and thousands of people could have bought it. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
not make you rich, but maybe it does. Now, the
Yeah.
last thing, just to wrap up, is I said one of the most difficult things about being an entrepreneur is loneliness because you're alone a
Mm-hmm.
lot. And then since we're problem solvers by nature, what do you think somebody who's a problem solver by nature, who's an entrepreneur, who's a hunter does when things are not going well? Men do this more than women, I believe.
Will isolate themselves?
Boom. Yes. And it's
Mm-hmm.
probably the worst thing you could possibly do.
Yeah.
And so, for any of those entrepreneurs out there who are watching, that's why you got to be in a tribe. That's why you got to find people around you. You got to have a mentor. You got to have a model. And you got to just speak kind words to yourself, man. And then I'd also say, I mean, some of my most successful entrepreneur buddies have been bankrupt, have been lost millions. It's part of the journey in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
And then some people get lucky, not lucky, but like some people hit it, and then you're smarter than them, you're more talented than them, but they hit it. The timing was right, and
Mm-hmm.
good for them. That's why we play the game. And then you're always looking for how do you have the scalable breakthrough. So I gotta go. Love you.
Love you.
I'll
I
give
always
you.
learn so much from you.
Oh, you're so
Thank
funny.
you.
I'll do the recording. I'll get the chapters. I'll send it over to you, and then I'll give you a call in a couple hours. Okay.
Okay. I love you. Have a good
Love you,
call.
girl.
Thanks, Dad.
Bye.
Bye.